Literally nobody could be more surprised than me about the news that I'm coming at you with today. As my second treatment thing, my second procedure for my suspected CSF leak, I'm gonna go ahead and get a CT myelogram. I'm getting 2 CT myelograms back to back, and then a blood patch to seal the CT myelogram holes. So it's been a very eventful week. I'm 5 weeks post-op right now from my first procedure, which was a non-targeted epidural blood patch. And my last update video was only a week ago, and all I had known at that point was that this blood patch had failed. And so, holy cow, what a whirlwind week. I'm gonna fill you in on all the little details and how I ended up here, now scheduled for 2 myelograms and a blood patch in a month, when all I've ever wanted to do was totally avoid getting a single myelogram. So, let's fill you in. So, I've been praying about this blood patch stuff a lot. I have had a lot of decisions to make about what direction my care should go, and there are big risks and benefits to every path that I can take. And when it comes to the CT myelogram, I'm shaking because all of this happened like yesterday. I really feel uncomfortable with getting the CT myelogram. When I have prayed about this, I've been like, you know what, God, your will, but anything but a CT myelogram. Literally anything but a CT myelogram. Okay, but otherwise, it's up to you, God. Anything else is totally game with me. And you know what? Convicted. If you pray like that, if you go into it like that, you know that you're gonna end up with exactly what you don't want. And in my case, I'm ending up with 2 of them. So that's the plan. How did we get here? So let's go back to the very first procedure that I got and the decision that I had to make. I posted a video, I will put a card here, where I talked about the decision between getting an epidural blood patch that's non-targeted because we don't know exactly where my leak is, versus getting a CT myelogram. And in that decision video, I also talked about the possibility that I don't have a dural tear type of leak. Instead, I might have a fistula type of leak or an abnormal connection between my brain fluid and a vein where it's just siphoning off. So check out that video if you want the full story. At that point, as my very first procedure, when I didn't even have a confirmed leak, I felt like it was a very easy choice to go with the non-targeted patch and just see how I react. I have had a history of spinal whip injuries, which make me a pretty good candidate for having a spinal leak somewhere along my spine. And I'm also hypermobile, so that makes me even more likely. And I have bone spurs, which makes me even more likely. And then of course, all of my symptoms. So going into my first patch, whether it worked or not, we knew we were going to at least gain information, and that would be able to guide our decision on this second round of treatments. Even if I did have the patch and it worked, there wasn't really a huge likelihood that it would work. If it did work, it probably wouldn't last too long. So first procedure, I felt like it was a really clear cut, I need to get this patch. And then the fact that this patch worked, to me it's just confirmation that I really am leaking. And that's, I think, what made me change my mind for this second procedure. It makes me feel like it is worth taking the risk of doing the CT myelograms to find out exactly where that leak is. Before my first patch, we didn't really know for sure that I was leaking. I had tons of telltale signs. I had signs on my MRI. I mean, I think I'm still kind of in the category of suspected. Until you get a myelogram and you actually see the fluid physically leaking, or you get a sample out of your nose and you test that it's beta-2 transferrin, you can't actually truly guarantee that what you have is a CSF leak. There's always going to be that tiny little bit of doubt in my head. But getting such a positive reaction to an epidural blood patch, to me, kind of confirmed that I am leaking. I already said all of this, and I was supposed to say something else right now. I'm memory looping. I don't know what I was supposed to say here, but check out the memory loops video, and I'll go back over here to whatever I was saying over there. Let's just get back to the story. At 4 weeks post-patch, I realized that the patch had failed, but I didn't have another follow-up visit planned for another 5 weeks. And I realized, like, okay, I'm back to how I felt prior to my first patch, and there's a chance that I'm about to wait 5 weeks for an appointment and get there and have him say, okay, so now you get to make the same decision again. Same risks, same benefits that we talked about before. We gained a little bit of knowledge from your first patch, but it's basically the same decision again. So what's your decision? I was kind of expecting that might be what happened at my appointment in 5 weeks. And I was like, I don't want to live with these symptoms for another 5 weeks and just have this decision be festering in my head, have these questions be festering in my head about what's going to happen at that appointment. Like, this is going to be a really crummy 5 weeks if that's all that's going to happen. So at about 4 weeks post-op, I messaged my doctor and I said, if the decision's gonna be up to me again, I'm kind of leaning towards the myelogram. I don't know where you're at, but that's where I am. Sorry, I have to back up before that. I let my doctor know, of course, at 4 weeks post-op that I was kind of calling it, like, hey, I really do feel like I'm back to how I was pre-op. And his response to that was, of course, that he's sorry to hear that that's happening and that I should be thinking about making that decision again between the blood patch and the CT myelogram. I knew in my head that there was a chance that nothing huge had changed in the decision in terms of risks and in terms of benefits, except for that we did learn a little bit from me getting this procedure and from how my body reacted to this procedure. Specifically, the fact that I did get a positive response and I was pretty healthy after the procedure. Guys, actually, I gained like 8 or 10 pounds in the few weeks after my blood patch, which is really exciting. I've been trying to gain weight for a long time. I'm unfortunately now losing the weight again now that I've been symptomatic for another couple of weeks, but that was really exciting and promising too. I also posted another video of all of the positive benefits that I got. I will put a card for that, and that'll be linked below too. But where was I? Oh yeah, so I emailed in again and I said, you know, I'm kind of leaning towards doing the myelogram, but I'll keep thinking. I sent that on a Wednesday. It was like 4.5 weeks post-op. As you can imagine, that was just heavy on my mind the entire weekend. I was thinking about it and praying about it, and like it was pretty much all I was trying to decide on for that entire weekend, because the doctor had confirmed with that email that I would be needing to make a decision. And then this Monday, like 2 days ago, I sent an email into my doctor and I said, you know, if nothing is gonna change, I feel set. I'm committed. I want to do the myelogram. Would it be possible for me to get on the schedule? You know, usually you have to schedule things a month or 2 months or 3 months out. I'm going to have to do travel arrangements and all of that. We have time to do a pre-op appointment in between now and then. Like, I can keep my post-op appointment that was post-op for the previous blood patch and use that as my pre-op appointment for a myelogram that's already on the schedule. Please? So I can stop living with a brain leak? And so we had a little bit more back and forth and stuff, but yeah, now I'm scheduled. But I do want to talk to you about risks, because a little bit more risk talk happened before we scheduled this myelogram. So, risk. A big reason I wanted to avoid the myelogram was I don't want to have this dye in my brain. That part of it totally creeps me out. I'm also uncomfortable with the idea of a wet tap, putting a hole all the way into the dura, all the way into where my spinal fluid stuff is. First off, like, direct line for any infection to be literally on my brain. All this dye, if there's like metal and stuff in it, that's all going in my brain. I haven't looked into the dye that they use or anything like that, because honestly, I don't really want to freak myself out. I'm committed. I'm going in, I'm doing it. I know that this is the next step for me, but I don't even take Tylenol because it's not natural enough for me. So for me to go to do something like this is kind of a big deal. I think when you start to get food allergies and you start to have these crazy reactions to things like a cup of milk or a bowl of spaghetti, it makes you really afraid of things that can give normal people life-threatening reactions. Other risks with the CT myelogram, you have a lot of nerves. It's your everything that helps your legs move and stuff. So the needle on all of your nerves, that's not the most healthy and safe thing to do. Usually, of course, it goes fine, but there are risks associated. I think it's a 1 in 10,000 chance of permanent spinal cord injury. But the biggest issue with the CT myelogram is it is a ton of radiation to CT your head and spine. It's just a lot of x-ray dosage. The estimated x-ray dosage is like 15 to 50 MSVs. I think that's what the units were. I don't know what it stands for. A chest x-ray is 0.1. So 15 to 50 is a lot, and I'm getting it 2 consecutive days. And that 15 to 50 units confers to about a 1 in 500 to 1 in 2,000 chance of getting cancer from doing this procedure. Which means that with getting 2, you're down to a 1 in 250 to 1 in 1,000 chance of getting cancer from the exposure to all of this radiation. I said it so nonchalantly, and then it just like hit me. This is absolutely not what I want to do. Oh, and look, now my nose is dripping. So that's where I'm at. After the non-targeted blood patch, I was asked to do 4 to 6 weeks of no bending, lifting, twisting, but I have 2 toddlers, so that's very difficult to do. I also have to travel by plane to get to my doctor because he's a specialist of all specialists, and so obviously he doesn't just happen to live exactly where I live. So one realization with this first non-targeted patch is that every single non-targeted patch, there's going to be huge recovery time, there's going to be huge wait time for scheduling, and then for being able to go and coordinate all the stuff. Then I'm going to have all that recovery time, and then we'll find out whether or not it worked. And then we'll have to wait another few weeks to get an appointment to talk about what to do next. And then another month or 2 to book it out again. And then I travel again. And you see where I'm getting with this. Going the non-targeted route, I worry about turning into a dog chasing its tail, and I'm just not in a position in my life with having the 2 kids that I have the luxury of just going and getting patched over and over again. It doesn't really make sense for my lifestyle. I'm a broken record saying this, but now that I feel more sure about there being a leak, I feel like I need to make sure that I actually do in fact have a tear type of leak and not a fistula type of leak before I can really feel good about continuing to go and do patches. It was just so much. It was not a trivial thing to go through, even though I had a really great recovery process. So now I want to go with this targeted route. There are obviously big risks going the targeted route, but there are also big risks to me just leaving my brain fluid leaking. There are risks to me doing more non-targeted patches. No matter what I do, there's gonna be a big risk. So I think I just need to make the best choice that I can right now and make these decisions one step at a time. And I have to say that I really commend myself for being able to change my mind so hard and so sharply, but so confidently, because it can be really hard to make medical decisions this big and go into them with full confidence. So I'm proud of myself because this is something that I absolutely did not want to do by any stretch of the imagination, and obviously, I still don't want to. Obviously, there's still some cold feet and some jitters and some anxiety there. But I'm overwhelmingly at peace with our decision to do this, and I'm really excited to get it done and learn the answers that we're gonna learn. I feel good about this decision. I'm ready. Oh my gosh, my ear just started ringing, so I'm glad that we're wrapping up. If you're going through this with me, guys, I'm so freaking sorry that you're a leaker, and wow, this is insane. I hope that hearing my thought process helps you with trying to decide what you're gonna do as your next steps. Oh my gosh, one more story I've gotta tell you. If you're into God stories, this is for you. If not, go to the next video. So I went to church on Sunday, and I had decided after I emailed my doctor on Wednesday that I thought I would choose a myelogram. I decided I'm gonna think about this, pray about this all weekend, and if I haven't wavered by Monday, I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna send the email in on Monday morning asking to actually book the CT myelogram. So on Sunday, I was at church, and it wasn't when I was there for service. I actually had come home, I put the girls down for a nap. I went down for a random meeting with some random people that I had never met before. Totally just like this weird chance fluke thing, and I was on my way out, and I ran into one of my friend's moms, and she ran over to me and she's, "Oh my gosh, how are you doing after your procedure, after all of this?" And so I kind of filled her in, and she was like, "I need to pray over you right now." This lady is like so connected to the spirit. I have no idea how she does it. So she came, she put her hand on my chest, and her daughter came and joined as well. And so she was just praying over me, and she kept going back to this phrase. She kept going back to step by step. You know, thank you for leading Jen step by step. Please, you know, help her with future decisions just step by step. And then afterwards she kind of looked at me and she said, "I don't know why, but this step by step, it just kept coming back to me and coming back to me, and I just kept thinking step by step. So maybe you need to hear that." And oh my gosh, I'm like getting goosebumps thinking about this, because like that's truly what I'm going through right now. This really is just a step by step process. Every step is different. The first step, a myelogram, was absolutely not the right decision. This time, a myelogram absolutely is the right decision. It's step by step. So if you needed to hear that today, it's step by step. All chronic illness things, if you're going through the migraine thing, you're just diagnosed with chronic migraine, and you're going through like your topiramate and nortriptyline trials, and then you're gonna go on propranolol and then Botox, and then maybe you'll try a CGRP. It's a long road, but just take it step by step. It's gonna be fine. We're gonna make it through, and we're gonna kick its butt. All right. See you next time for Realist Time. Bye.